This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be welcoming Jason Paul Collum. He is best known as the gay horror filmmaker. And if it wasn't for Jason, I wouldn't be friends with Michelle Bauer. And he has just been a very monumental gift to my life because I am friends with Michelle Bauer today, and she's been on here multiple times. And Jason and I are going to nerd out on horror, talk a little bit about his career, see what he's got going on. And it's going to be a nice little pleasant conversation. I've been looking forward to this for quite a while. I've been meaning to reach out to him to come on for quite a while, but timing is everything, and I thought the timing was right. And so we're going to have a great hot August summer conversation. And he's made movies like October Moon with Brink Stevens and past guest Judith O'Day, and he made a documentary about the Slumber Party Massacre movies, and he um, also made a movie about Brink and Linnea Quigley and Michelle, and the whole Scream Queen craze of the '80s and stuff. And he's also written several books, and he's written several publications about horror, and it's going to be a great conversation. So, yeah, here is my interview with Jason Paul Collum. Hey, Jason, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. Thanks for coming on. I've been meaning to reach out to you for quite a while because connected me with Michelle back in 2020, and because of you, I got to have lunch with her on my birthday last year in LA. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I thank you so much for coming on and so much for connecting me with her.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't realize you guys had lunch. That's fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was the talk of Facebook for a little while.
I imagine it would be.
Yeah. So, going back in time, do you remember the first horror movie that impacted you as a child?
Yeah, it was a weekend viewing of Friday the 13th, parts 1 and 2.
Ah,
Are we talking about when my love for horror began, or the first horror movie I remember that traumatized me? Because it's two very different movies.
oh, you can tell me all because I'm very interested.
Okay, well, what launched my love of horror was Friday 1 and 2. I was babysitting. I'd been terrified even of horror movie trailers up to that point. I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
And I got into my brain that I was going to watch these movies that I had heard were so terrifying, and they were back then, and I made it through. And that's and then the following, you don't know if it's the following day or like somewhere within that week, Happy Birthday to Me was on. And again, this is edited for television.
Mm-hmm.
I believe both aired on Fox 32 out of Milwaukee. This is before Fox was Fox. This was just like a substation back in those days, like a WGN out of Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. And but I made it through, and I had the little, probably shouldn't have, but I had the little kid I was babysitting with me. And so that's where my love launched. The first movie that I remember watching and not realizing what I was watching, I don't remember which particular order they happened in, but it was Tourist Trap.
Yeah.
And Jaws.
Love them all.
Burnt Offerings.
Oh.
And I'm 5 years old, 2 o'clock in the morning, snuck out of my room and turned on the old TV set that had the clicky dial on it.
Yeah.
You had to press in really hard to for it to not make that click sound. And just kind of came across these movies, and they just blew my mind. I don't think I even watched all of the movies because I couldn't take it.
Yeah.
The one where I turned on Jaws, it was at the moment where the head popped out of the porthole.
Oh, yeah.
So that's all I needed. Nightmares for weeks. To this day, I cannot stand next to a store mannequin. They still freak me out.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to Tourist Trap.
Oh, love
and
it.
Burnt Offerings was that stupid pallbearer guy. If that's what you call him. The guy with the black hat, with the black sunglasses, and that big creepy ass smile.
Yeah.
and that one I do remember watching more of that movie. Like, I was kind of entranced with it, and he in particular was scaring me, but I couldn't turn it off.
Yeah.
I wanted to see what happened. And then, of course, it has one of the most tragic endings of any horror movie out there.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm not going to spoil for anybody, but
yeah, let's not spoil.
but especially for a child, 5 years old, it was very traumatic. So.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I interviewed Eileen Heckert's son about Burnt Offerings years ago, and it's a very underrated one. But yeah, I mean, the first Friday the 13th is my favorite slasher movie ever, and probably favorite horror movie overall, and stuff. Roger Ebert, I think, said, Friday the 13th is a Halloween ripoff, but the best one, or something like that, and I totally agree.
Oh yeah, well, Siskel and Ebert both. Well, was it infamously gave away the ending of the movie?
Oh yeah.
Because they despised them so much, and so basically as my life went on, I was like, okay, well, whatever they dislike, I will like.
Yeah. Yeah, The Shining was the first horror movie that impacted me. I was like a year old, and like my parents, they don't really like horror, but they love Jack Nicholson, so we watched it because it was on, and God, it fucked me up big time. And then I went back and watched it. Like all chopped up on USA when I was like 7, and then it became my go-to horror movie every Halloween. And I even watched it this past Halloween. I just love The Shining.
Yeah, well, here's the thing for me. I like The Shining more now as an adult. As a kid, I was extremely bored by the first, hour and a half.
Huh, interesting.
But then, once he goes, legit crazy and starts trying to kill everybody, then I'm like, okay, now I'm in. So, as an adult, I appreciate it more. But that goes the same for Rosemary's Baby, and The Omen, and The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, I was like, I don't get it. I like The Exorcist because her head spun around.
Yeah.
But it didn't really scare me. And Omen I was always kind of bored with. And Rosemary's Baby I loved, but it didn't scare me. And then going back, in probably my 30s, and rewatching them and really paying attention, I was like, oh, now I get it. Now I'm creeped out. So even though I knew kind of what was coming, so it wasn't scary per se, because
mm-hmm.
You knew whatever you knew what was going to happen along the way, but it all just made more sense to me.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe is what we're experiencing more now in horror. Is they call it elevated horror,
mm-hmm.
but really it's horror for grown-ups.
Well, it seems like today, there's too much of a slow build these days in horror. It's just like, come on, I want to get to the good stuff, and I don't know. I mean, every once in a while you find one where it's much more faster paced and stuff, but for the most part, it just seems like it's just a slow burn.
It is, but that's kind of what I call when I say grown-up movies, I'm not saying the others are immature, but it's
mm-hmm.
I'm just like I appreciate taking your time more now as an adult, because in theory, there's more to the story, right? You're mm-hmm. sitting with the characters more. You're sitting with the settings more, and it can be taken to an extreme. I mean, they could have chopped a good half hour out of Midsommar, in my opinion. But
mm-hmm.
I look at Hereditary, which I did not like initially, but now I do.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a hot minute. So, but you're so involved with the characters that you you begin to live in their world more, I think, when what we would refer to as being drawn out. And I'm a huge fan of When a Stranger Calls, the original.
Yeah.
And, but really, not a lot happens in that whole middle section. It's infamous for its opening 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And people kind of forget how scary those last 10 minutes of it are. But
right.
That whole midsection in When a Stranger Calls is really dragged out. Because, just for the people who don't know, it started as a short that was called The Sitter.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically they take The Sitter, and that's the first 20 minutes of When a Stranger Calls. And then the filmmakers had to figure out, okay, well, now what are we going to do to drag the sucker out to 90 minutes? And they created this kind of sit with the villain, sit with one of the people who could potentially be the victim.
Right.
And I know a lot of people complain about that section, but I like that section because you sit with them. So it's all a matter of taste. You know, it's one person loves Friday the 13th, which I do. Part 2 is like my favorite, one of my all-time favorite movies of all time. But there's, I think, a different expectation for Friday the 13th versus Rosemary's Baby. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, other than the fact that they were both made by the same studio, Paramount, they are, yeah, two different leagues of horror.
Yeah.
What's your favorite subgenre of horror?
Slasher.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was just at Flashback weekend this past weekend, I think, or weekend before, and they had me up on stage and were asking me this exact same question, and it's just, I think the slasher movies were so formative for me at age 12 because it was right in that era. So, like, I was there when it was happening. So, I've never been a big monster fan, like vampires and zombies and ghosts and what. Don't really. Yeah, I'm gonna take the ghost one back. I love, like, Poltergeist and The Haunting are some of my favorites.
Oh,
Amityville. I still love the first two Amityville movies.
Yeah, oh, those are the best. After that, it falls apart, but those first two were great. I love those. Yeah, I mean, I talk about this a lot because I think it's important. I think 1981 was the best year for slashers. I mean, there were so many that year that came out. There was Friday the 13th Part 2, My Bloody Valentine, Happy Birthday to Me, Bloody Birthday, Final Exam, Just Before Dawn, Night School, Don't Go in the Woods, Hell Night. I mean, so many that year. It was just a great year for the genre, and then, the slasher genre kind of fizzled out after 1984 or so, and then we started seeing these teen movies that I refer to as the Teenagers in Trouble movies, whether it's Fright Night, Return to Living Dead, Hide and Go Shriek, Chopping Ball, stuff like that, where, like, these kids want to have a good time, and then the supernatural, nightmare happens, or something close to supernatural nightmare happens for them.
Well, again, and they're all kind of, like you name, like Chopping Mall. Like, at that point, the slasher movie was on the way down, but it's still a slasher movie. What these movies just had to start doing is getting creative in what's the spin on this. Okay, well, instead of like a guy in a mask, now it's a robot.
Right?
Security robot. And so I think those later slasher movies were, some of them people may not even think of as slasher movies, but again, like you said, if they were dead teenager movies, teenagers in peril, teenagers in the mall, teenagers in the school, teenagers in the forest, it was all the teenagers who were gonna get whacked in one way or another. And they had to become way more inventive, and this is coming up at the time when all of the practical effects were really starting to come into full force. Like, you had Tom Savini, who had really done the golden age of slashers well, with slit throats and knives through heads and whatnot. But as you get into the mid to late 80s, now you've got Phantasm and The Blob and Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Now you've got these movies that are like really going gung ho on the practical in-camera effects.
Yeah.
So that's how I think the genre kind of changed in the mid 80s, even though in essence a lot of them were still slasher movies, just not the cheaper variety that we were used to. And I have to add, so I was 12 in 1987.
Mm-hmm.
So this is when we got a VCR in my house, and I was able to start renting these slasher movies from 5 years earlier. So I missed the slasher era at its peak in theaters because I was too young, but I was able to relive it within 5 years of it on VHS.
Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't old enough to see a lot of classic horror movies in the theater, because I don't know, I think with an audience I just would have been too terrified. I loved the whole thing of being in my room late at night with the lights off and my parents asleep. I don't know, it was just better for me. It was a much more better thing for me. The closest I ever got to seeing a scary movie in the theater with people was Ernest Scared Stupid. Now, people, now let me tell you something. Laughter is contagious. Everyone was laughing. We were all laughing, me and my dad. It was a funny movie. But then a year later, when I saw it on cable, I was terrified. It did not have the same impact as it did in the theater with everybody laughing.
And it's so funny that you say that because people. Okay, so how old are you right now?
Right now I'm 43 and I was 8 at that time.
Okay, so the number of people that mention Ernest Scared Stupid as having terrified them is common. I've heard it many times. I don't think I've ever seen it, to be honest. I saw the first Ernest Goes to Camp in the theater.
Yeah.
I tried rewatching it. I bought the box set like a year ago.
Yeah.
And I barely made it through. Again, it's all kind of based on your age, where you are in life, what your perception of things is when you see these movies. So, the Ernest Scared Stupid is commonly referred to by people that I've spoken to as a movie that scared them when they were little.
Yeah, and also too, I don't know if you saw Adam Sandler's movie Hobie Halloween, but it borrows a lot from Ernest Scared Stupid. Like when I'm watching it, I'm like, this is just another Ernest Scared Stupid. Same idea. He's the guy that everybody knows in town that everybody doesn't like because he's an idiot, and then he has to prove that there's a witch in town, and there's all this supernatural shit going on. It was the same premise. I recommend watching both back to back, and then telling me, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. For me, when I was a kid, Escape to Witch Mountain was terrifying.
Oh yeah.
And and it's made for kids. But even the opening sequence of that movie, and I don't know who knows, but I wrote this book called They Made How Many. It's a book about sequel franchises.
Yeah.
And I decided to include that franchise in the book because it terrified me as a child. And when you watch the opening credits of it, it is a horror movie opening. And obviously it tames down throughout the bulk of it, but there's this one scene in the police station where all the clothing and the pieces of furniture and things come to life in the room, and the kid is controlling it. But it makes it when you're 5, it scares you, like the Wicked Witch of the West in Wizard of Oz. Like when she flies up in that window during the tornado scene, that was mortifying, like so scary I couldn't even look at it. If you look at it now, nothing much. But I tell you, I've taught little kids before, and I show the Wizard of Oz, and they still react to the witch in that window, and they still react to the monkeys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I mean, I watched Wizard of Oz several months ago, and there's certain scary things in that I think still hold up all these years later. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Escape to Witch Mountain. Yeah, I don't know if you know that Ike Eisenman has a memoir out now, and how he came to write it is hilarious. He was doing a screening, I think just before the pandemic, of Escape to Witch Mountain. It was like an anniversary screening, and Kim Richards showed up for the Q&A panel, and she's a Hilton, so she's a little crazy. He said that she did not remember anything, and he was carrying the entire Q&A panel conversation, and it hit him hard. He took it personal because they were each other's first love on the set of that movie, and she doesn't remember a single thing. And so he went home, telling his wife what happened, and she's like, write about it. And then the pandemic hits, he writes it, and now the memoir's out.
Oh, okay. I knew he had a memoir out, but now I'm really interested in seeing it.
Yeah.
It is, and it just, even as a filmmaker, it is interesting when you watch movies, or I should say the DVD extras, or even speaking to people on my own who were once employed by me in films, what they just don't remember, that fans remember so much. And there's a thing out right now, I just saw it yesterday on Facebook, somebody posted about Kimberly Beck. Had some dialogue in Friday, the final chapter, and a fan wanted her to write it on the picture. And she's like, what are you talking about? They're like, well, you said blah, blah, blah. She's like, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Like and he had to convince them. And he asked other people around, and they were like, no, we don't remember. like certain fans remember it, but people working on the movies don't remember all of these things.
Yeah.
Because you have to remember too, when you're in it, I think it's so rushed on a low budget horror movie production, whether it's Friday the 13th, Part something, or if it's one of my movies or a David DeCoteau movie where he shoots his movies in like 4 days.
Yeah.
So when you're shooting a movie in 4 days or 6 days or even 18 days, you are cramming a lot of material into people's heads. They've got to remember pages and pages of dialogue. So a lot of time these actors aren't paying attention to anything going on around them. Their brain is so hyper-focused on the dialogue that they're going to be in front of a camera speaking in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That, sure, the kitchen caught on fire for real, but they weren't focused on that. So they don't remember a lot of these things.
Right. Now, you mentioned before how you were not a big fan of monster movies, but like at your age now, can you at least appreciate, the Universal monster movies?
Oh, I always appreciated those. They're not, I should say, it's not that I dislike those kinds of movies. They're just not my go-tos.
Okay.
So, I really enjoy the Frankenstein movies. The first Dracula, to be honest, I don't know that I've ever seen any others.
I love the first one.
I saw Mummy as a kid,
Yeah.
but I haven't, the original Mummy, but I haven't seen it since. I've seen Phantom of the Opera, the silent movie, probably twice, but I only remember key parts from it. So I love the Blob. Well, I love both Blobs. I love the 58 version and I love the 88 version.
Yeah.
I'm like massive fan of Cloverfield.
Hmm.
And I really enjoyed the first years of Walking Dead. So I do like monster movies to an extent. They're just not my go-tos typically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I own all the rare VHS prints of Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, Mummy, Invisible Man, etc. I love them all. I wish I could have met Gilbert Gottfried. He was just a Universal monster aficionado, and he got to do it. He got to do interviews with all the kids of the Universal monster actors, and I have too. I've gotten to interview them. It's funny. Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, and Claude Rains' children, they were all born in 1938 when their fathers were like in their 50s. It's so bizarre. They're the only kids of their fathers. Their fathers were immigrants it took them years to get success out here in the States. And it's just so bizarre how that happened. And they're still alive and kicking.
Yeah. Well, and they probably, want to make sure that they were settled financially before they had to worry about, bringing another lives into the world. So
yeah,
it could have had something to do with it. So, and I was just thinking too, as you were talking about, these classic monster movies.
Mm-hmm.
If I think back to how I came in love with slashers, that's what played on Friday and Saturday nights on TV. So, when I was watching creature features,
mm-hmm.
ironically, it wasn't creatures that I was watching; it was slasher movies.
Yeah.
I discovered Prom Night, Hell Night, Deadly Blessing, Hills Have Eyes. I discovered all of those movies on WGN or Channel 32, which again was Fox, but before it was Fox, because they would run slasher movies on those channels because they were still popular enough, that they were now spilling out onto TV. So I saw the first Halloween movie. I don't know why they did it this way. They played Halloween 2 on Friday night, and then they played Halloween 1 on Saturday night.
Yeah.
They played them out of order. So I saw Part 2 before I saw Part 1. And I got a big groan out of the audience, that flashback, when somebody asked me that question about the Halloween franchise in particular, which Halloween movie is my favorite. And I said, I adore the original movie. I love it, I love it, I love it. But Part 2 rests with me more, I think, because I saw it first.
Yeah.
So, that's why I think I'm not as into monster movies as I am in slashers, because I just saw slashers more on regular television.
Did you guys have a creature feature host in Wisconsin?
Well, we had Svengoolie out of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And we had there was one other guy. We had Elvira.
Yeah.
We had, I think Elvira was on WGN, and Svengoolie was on Channel 32. And I feel like there was one other guy. No, you know what? There was a show called Creature Features, and all that came up was a hand would come up out of the grave and grab at the gravestone. I don't think there was an actual host for that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, in the Bay Area where I'm from, there was Bob Wilkins and John Stanley, who I've gotten to know over the years before I was born. And then when I came of age, there was Captain USA, there was Gilbert and Rhonda on USA Up All Night, and Joe Bob. He was on, in my early years, Joe Bob was on the movie channel. That was the only cable channel we never had when I was a kid. Even when my mom was working for the cable company, we didn't have it because that was the only channel that they made employees pay for, and my mom wasn't going to do that. It wasn't until TNT Monster Vision that I discovered Joe Bob, and even though it was a much more corporate atmosphere when he was hosting it on there, I still loved it. You know, I love any kind of horror host or movie presenter on TV. When I was a kid, I just loved it. There's something magical about that job. Like, it was a dream job for me that I wanted, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to be honest, I shot a pilot as the host that I was trying to sell to multiple networks around the area, and it's just a dead thing. It's, with the exception of Svengoolie, there really aren't any anymore. Yeah. The networks have too much that they already have. I guess the product just wasn't available back then, and now it's just kind of it's a dead idea. You know,
yeah.
I think even like Rhonda Shear is back now, but she's not doing it on regular television. I forget what.
Yeah, she's doing it on a platform. Oh God, what's that one? What's that horror platform? It's very popular.
Shudder.
Shudder. Yeah, I think it's on Shudder, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's again, with the exception of Svengoolie, even though Elvira came back a couple years ago, and it didn't last very long. I think it lasted maybe one season.
Mm-hmm.
So people just don't have that attention span, and it's I think too because it's we're so into streaming now that I don't know that teenagers for sure are not watching WGN on a Friday night. They're not sitting at home watching Creature Features. Mm-hmm. You know, they're living their lives, and when they want to watch one of their movies, modern day movies, they're just going to go to Netflix or wherever to get it. It's shocking to me, and I guess it's something I have to start to accept. What I am experiencing, and especially at this show that I was just at, younger folk don't really know much about our movies anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they maybe saw the first Halloween, and that's it. They maybe saw the first two Fridays, and that's it. Or they caught one of them. And they always say those old Friday the 13th movies.
Right.
And I'm like, want to slap them across the face. You know, but it's all of the movies. I'm like, well, how do you not know Rosemary's Baby? Yeah. How do you not know what Squirm is? How do you not know what Alice, Sweet Alice? And they don't. They've never heard of them. It's happening more and more each year that I go to these conventions, because I try to get people to come up to my table after I've been on stage, and I encourage, let's have a conversation. Mm-hmm. You know, come up and tell me about your favorite movie, or argue with me about what the best slasher is or whatever. And a lot of these kids that do come up to me afterwards, they don't know that these movies exist.
I know.
When I say prom night, they look at me with the head like a deer in the headlights.
I know.
So it's bizarre, and then I have to go, oh, well, I'm 53, you know, and I kind of bring it to this. When we were growing up, there were only three major networks, and this is still like 1985, 86. It was CBS, ABC, and NBC. Fox was still a substation, and UPN was a substation, and so there maybe you could get like the waves from some other obscure station come in, but there were only like 4 or 5 channels to watch on your TV in your bedroom at night.
Yeah.
So if they only aired all of our parents' movies, and on the radio only aired our parents' music, that's what you were kind of forced to listen to. You didn't realize you were being forced to listen to it, but that was the option. So that's what you watched. So
Yeah.
I know all of my parents' stuff. My friends' kids don't know any of our stuff. And I'm watching all these reaction videos. I shouldn't say watching all. I'm just now discovering all of these reaction videos on YouTube, right? I didn't know that they existed. This is how old I am.
Yeah.
And they're all reacting now. Madonna has now come out with this new album.
Right.
That's a big hit. And so now all of these kids who are in their teenagers and college age are doing all these reaction videos to her music videos from the 80s and early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all like, I've never heard this song before. I'm like, how have you never heard Like a Virgin? There's no possible way you've never heard Like a Virgin. But they insist they've never heard the song before. So, I don't know. It's this bizarre disconnect from their parents' generation of stuff. And maybe it's because there's such a glut of product out there now that why go to watch your parents' stuff when there's all this new stuff for them to watch? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Years ago, I'm in line at a convention to meet Paul Sorvino, and I'm a huge fan of Larry Cohen's The Stuff, and I have a stuff cup from one of Larry Cohen's last batch that he was selling at conventions before he died. I mean, he had over 1,000 of them in his closet, and he started taking them to conventions and selling them the last couple years he was alive. And so I have this cup to get it signed, and there's a horror fan. He's got like a Exorcist T-shirt, and he's wearing like I don't know, like a Dawn of the Dead necklace or something, and he's holding a Goodfellas poster, and he had the balls to ask me, "What's the stuff?" I'm like, "Oh my God, you're at a horror con?" I mean, I know it's not like a super popular horror film, but I'm like, "Wow, man, you're at a horror con, and you asked me that question."
Yeah. Side note, I saw somebody walking around with one of those cups at that show.
Yeah.
So they're still floating around out there.
Yeah, I mean, there are like replicas that people sell on eBay and shit, but I never wanted to do that because I knew that there's a possibility that they weren't fake. But I got one from the master himself, signed by him, Laureen Landon, Paul Sorvino. I was going to get Garrett Morris to sign it when I was at the Hollywood show last year, but his line was out the door, and sadly I didn't get his. But yeah, I'm a huge fan, of George Romero's Night of the Living Dead and just the original Dead trilogy in general. And you've worked many times with the wonderful Judith O'Day. I had Judith back on this past spring, and your name came up, and she highly praised you, and she told me that she loved you and all that stuff. So how did you meet Judith, and how did you start casting her in your movies?
So it came about really in a really odd way. I was writing for Femme Fatale's magazine, and we wanted to do a retrospective on the girls from Friday the 13th, because at the time we couldn't find them.
Yeah.
The lead girls, like they weren't working for SAG anymore, or they'd moved overseas, or for whatever reason, I just could not track any of these women down. So I put an ad in Backstage West, which was a paper magazine at the time, where actors would go to look for work. And I said, in this ad, I said, if anybody knows any of the Friday the 13th girls, please have them reach out to me. Here's my contact. So I get a phone call, and it's this gentleman who says, I don't rep any of the Friday girls, but I do rep Judith O'Day. Would you like to interview her for Femme Fatale? And I was like, oh my God, yes!
Yeah.
Like, how did you find her? That was amazing. So I called instantly, and I interviewed her for the 10th anniversary issue. And then when that was done, I shot a documentary called Something to Scream About. It was just about working actresses in the horror world. And I'd had such a nice time with her, and she was so pleased with the way the article came out, that I reached out to her and said, like, hey, would you be willing to be in this documentary? Never thinking in a million years that she would. And she said yes. And so then a year later, when I got financing for October Moon, I wrote a character for her and just kind of like crossed my fingers that maybe she would say yes to it. I'm like, there's no way in a million years Judith is going to do this movie. And for anybody who doesn't know, and I'm sure there's plenty who don't, October Moon is one of the first, if not the first, official gay horror movies, where all of the lead characters are gay. It is a gay subject matter. It's referred to as gaydal attraction.
Yeah.
Nobody was making these movies. It had taken me like 7 years to get it made because nobody would make the movie. And so when I finally found financing, I reached out to her and I said, hey, like, I'm doing this movie. It's really kind of out there. Nobody's really done this kind of thing before. Would you be, I wrote this character for you. I'm just wondering if you would consider doing it. And she did. And so that's kind of how, between Something to Scream About and Femme Fatales and October Moon, that's how our journey kind of came to be. So now I put her in as many things as I can.
I met her 10 years ago at Monsterpalooza, and I told her, I said, you're the pioneer of the modern scream queen. I mean, you're responsible for so many scream queens in the horror genre coming after you, and stuff. And she cried. She just felt so humbled by me saying that. It was just so wonderful, and she's just always been so good to me and stuff. Have you ever heard her swear?
Yes, but it's very delicate when she does.
Yeah. I gotta say, I've known a lot of Irish women in my life. My grandmother on my dad's side was 100% Irish. I have never heard an Irish woman not swear in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very yeah. Judith is funny. She is so very well spoken.
Yeah.
She almost sounds English, like she's from the UK.
Yeah.
But she's born and raised in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So it's funny that she has this kind of dialect that is so clean and clear and precise when she talks.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Yeah. Being from Wisconsin, do you like Bill Rebane movies?
I know of Bill Rebane. The only movie of his I think I saw was, did he make Blood Hook?
Blood Hook. Unless it has another name, I don't know.
There's something about, it has Tiny Tim in it.
Oh, that's Blood Harvest.
Blood Harvest.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I saw Blood Harvest, yes. But
yeah.
I know the legend of Bill Rebane, but I don't know that I've never met him.
Oh yeah, I had him on the podcast in 2020. He's an interesting guy. He did he did a couple great sci-fi movies in the 70s I really like, and I see a lot of Tarantino style in them, where it's like an ensemble of people being quarantined and they have to deal with each other in conflict. Invasion from Inner Earth and the Alpha Incident. I mean, they're not great works of art, but they're pretty damn entertaining. I recommend them to people, and they play on Creature Features a lot. At least on my local one, they play a lot. You started out working for David DeCoteau, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of his movies you really liked?
So, growing up, I was a huge fan of Sorority Babes and the Slimeball Bolorama.
Me too.
That's how I discovered him, and Nightmare Sisters.
Yep.
And then the Puppet Master movies that he did. And so those were kind of like the key ones. And I knew that he had a hand in Assault of the Killer Bimbos. He didn't direct it, but I believe he produced it.
Yeah. Anita Rosenberg directed it.
Yeah, and so his name just kept popping up. And so I kind of became a fan, and then I bought a horror movie book. I want to say it was, it was one of those John McCarty books about B horror. Everybody had it. Everybody back in the day had it. But he was included in this book, and then there was a series of documentaries called Shock Cinema, and he was featured in those. So I just kind of became a fan of his through those movies, and then in the late 90s, right before I moved to LA, I was seeing his movies coming out through Full Moon, like Killer Eye, and I was like, these movies are getting kind of boy sexy. Like, what's going on here? And so then I met Brink Stevens, and when I moved out to LA, she said, you have to meet Dave DeCoteau. We'll get you to meet Dave. So I actually met J.R. Bookwalter first.
Oh, I know J.R., yeah.
Yeah, so he did Dead Next Door. And it was actually J.R. who made the official phone call to Dave and said, hey, you got to meet this kid who's 23 and he's out here from Wisconsin and he loves all your stuff. And so I went into Full Moon and met with Dave, and he hired me on the spot to do publicity for a movie that he had done. It was called Voodoo Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And it had been planned as a full moon movie, but it was so homoerotic, still a straight movie technically, but so homoerotic that Charlie Band was like, no, thank you. Because, again, back then, you didn't make those kinds of movies, right, unless it was porn. So he decided he was going to launch his own company called Rapid Heart, and he was going to release it mail order, and I was to be in charge of that, getting all the publicity about it. And we did. We got tons of magazine articles, and people started talking about it, especially in the gay community, because it was so queer-coded.
Right.
Like a lot of boys in their white underwear. Nobody kisses, nobody hugs, nobody climbs into bed with anybody else.
Yeah.
But they're always kind of touching each other's chests, or hands on shoulders, or now I'm in my white underwear and white socks yet again because Dave has a thing, right?
Yeah.
So, and then when his next movies were, the next he did Ancient Evil, Scream of the Mummy, and he hired me on as his PA for that. And so I did such a good job on that when the Brotherhood came along next, he hired me to do multiple jobs, including assistant directing. And the set was kind of a mess with certain people that had been crew members, and I kind of like picked up all the slack. And he saw how much I worked my ass off, and so the relationship just kind of built from there. And he gave me more duties to do. And then when he opened his office of the Rapid Heart Picture, I was the office manager. I kind of came in and helped all get the productions ready, and did all the computer work and publicity and yada, yada, yada. So I did Good 1 and 2 with him, and Final Stab, The Frightening. So, and then years later, I came back. Like a decade later, I came back and I started doing publicity for him again on a bunch of his talking animal movies.
I'm a big fan of Dream Maniac. Yeah, I've interviewed Lauren Peterson from it years ago, and I did meet David at Monsterpalooza one year. He's a very shy guy, I've noticed.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. You made a documentary about the Slumber Party Massacre movies called Sleepless Nights, the Slumber Party Massacres, or what was it, Revisiting the Slumber Party Massacres?
Yeah, Sleepless Nights, Revisiting the Slumber Party Massacres.
Right.
A lot of people leave that S off the end. It's the whole franchise of massacres.
Yes. I love those movies, and I think they're finally getting their due now as slasher classics. Can you remember the first time you saw those movies and how they impacted you?
Yeah, I watched Slumber. Well, the first thing I got to say is I saw the box art for Part 2 back then when the mom and pop store thing was happening. Grocery stores and gas stations also carried VHS movies for rental. People kind of forget about that part of it. So my local grocery store had a video section, and I just remember that box cover with the guitar with the drill coming out of the end, like facing me, and it was glossy, and it was beautiful, and it was brand new. And so to be honest, I don't know if I watched that one first. I didn't rent it right away. I found Part 1, and I had wanted to watch Part 1 because of Brink. I didn't know who Brink was personally. I did not know what she looked like, but I knew her name from Fangoria magazine and other magazines that would list her name in articles, but there was never a picture of her. So, but it always said that she was in Slumber Party Massacre, so I rented the first film.
Yeah.
Kind of finally figured out which person she was. So that is how I kind of came to see the first movie, and appreciated instantly the feminist angle. I got it right away. I was like, oh, the women are in power. Okay, I like this.
Yeah.
Oh, this is deliberately silly in certain parts. Okay, I like this. Like the whole pizza bit, still I chuckle at every time. You know,
Yeah.
that guy, you're not going to eat that dead guy's pizza. So, what? It's fine. Tastes good. So then after seeing Part 1, I immediately saw Part 2. Not a huge fan. I was like, this is stupid. Why aren't the original cast members here? Why are there characters from the first movie in this movie, but it's not the same actors? That still to this day pisses me off.
Yeah.
And then you find out, which was commonly the case, the reason that they did not bring back the original actors is because they were considered to be too old.
Of course.
So, without even seeing them, to be quite honest. So, anyway, so I didn't like it at first, and then I saw it again and again and again and again. Now it's one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've talked to Deborah DeLiso and Deborah Brock, and I just talked to Christy Callan from Wednesday Week a few weeks ago. She's great, and I've, yeah, I mean, I discovered these ones in my teens and then rediscovered them some point in my 20s, and yeah, I just really like them. I mean, I love everything that Roger Corman did in general.
But isn't it amazing that at the point at which I did the retrospective, when this is in 2000, for Femme Fatale, really it was dying. It was kind of not, because all the mom and pop stores were gone, long gone, and streaming was not available, and it was not being put out on DVD. So it would kind of become this forgotten franchise, and the article came out and did really well, and then all of a sudden Corman put out the original DVD set, like a year later, and then it's kind of slowly grown from there. When Shout Factory did the box set that has the documentary in it, that really seems to be the trigger for when now multiple generations have fallen in love with it. So, and now it's spoken right alongside of all of the other slashers. If you say, I would hear somebody talk about Slumber Party Massacre before they talked about Prom Night or Hell Night or Terror Train or, So I'm glad that it finally reached this level of cult status.
Yeah.
And the same with Sleepaway Camp, if you think about it. Sleepaway Camp was not what it is today. Sleepaway Camp did okay at the box office and then kind of faded away, and then it went on VHS, and not every store carried it.
Yep.
And then the sequels came out, and I think more people actually saw the sequels than saw the original movie back then. And then it wasn't until we rediscovered Felissa Rose and we put her in the magazine.
Yep.
And then filmmakers were like, "Oh, she's hot." Like Angela grew up to be really good looking, So that is where Sleepaway Camp comes into play. Is 20 years ago. It was that first 20-some years. It was not this big breakout cult movie. It wasn't until these last 20, 25 years that it's taken on the life that it has. So it's amazing to me how all of these slashers that we grew up with, whether they're single films or franchises, a lot of them have faded away, but then all of a sudden, they're huge again.
Absolutely. I noticed in that documentary there was no, then new interview with Michelle Michaels. What happened there?
Couldn't find her.
You couldn't find her?
Could not find her to save her life. I don't even remember. There's a guy named Tony Brown who was diligent on finding these cast members. So anybody who's not in the documentary, I will say the bulk of people not in the documentary is because we couldn't find them. Because you got to remember, too, a lot of these people made one or two movies in 1982, and in the 20 years that went, or 30 years that went on after that, they left Hollywood, they went back to Iowa, got married, had kids, their last name changed when they got married, so it became, and we didn't have the internet. When I was doing the magazine article the way that we do now, and even when we were doing the documentary in 2010, not everybody was on Facebook. But Tony Brown managed to hunt these people down, and I don't know how he figured it out, but he actually found her husband.
Yeah.
And you'd have to talk to Tony about how he put two and two together. Because, again, the husband has a different last name, but is in the film business. And they were not living, I don't want to say maybe they were even living on the East Coast. They may not have even been on the West Coast at that point. So now I really wish I've become very friendly with Michelle Michaels, and I really do hope to work with her one day, but I still haven't met her in person. So, but I was able to finally get a written interview with her for They Made How Many book. So
Yeah. Did you try to get Ryan Kennedy?
another one, yes, but somebody else was able to find him. I never found him personally. Shout Factory, somebody found him somewhere years later and convinced him to do like a one-off, just sit in front of your camera and talk interview. So there were two people who turned us down. It was Pamela Roylance, who has since gone on to start doing interviews for it, and the guy that played one of the boys, not Joe Johnson, the other guy.
Let me try to think.
Drawing a blank.
I'm trying to think. David Milburn, maybe.
David Milburn. So respectfully, both David and Pamela wanted to be paid for the interviews, and that it was pay one or pay. You can't just pay one person and not pay everybody. And everybody else had agreed to do it for free. Because they knew it was publicity for their own careers.
Yeah.
So they just chose not to be in it. Part two, we did interview an actress, and I will not name her, but she's a pain in the ass, and we ended up cutting her out because she was being a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah, I was supposed to interview Ryan Kennedy. He goes by Rig now, and I was supposed to interview him a couple years ago, and then he got out of line with me, and I decided not to do it. And that rarely happens, I'll tell you. And yeah, he's an interesting guy. I noticed you interviewed Jennifer Rhodes. Now, on her IMDb, it says in her bio she was in a popular horror movie that she refuses to talk about, but it doesn't specify which one. I mean, how was the experience of interviewing her?
I want to be her best friend, and I mean that. She is so funny and delightful, and just, I didn't want our interview to end because she was so incredibly nice. And she spoke very freely about the movie and that she had never seen it. And to be honest, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that at the point that I did the interview, she still had never seen the movie. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming in the last 15 years at some point she did, because we sent it to her.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping she watched it. It was kind of amazing how much she did remember, and she was only on it for like a day or two. She wasn't on it for very long, but she remembered having to do special effects and her scenes with Crystal Bernard, and and that she did an episode of Wings years later, and they kind of joked about the fact that they done Slumber Party Massacre 2 together, and so my experience with her was, I mean, she wouldn't have done the interview if she didn't want to talk about that movie. So it must be some other movie that she's referring to.
I'm guessing it was Halloween, because she does have a tiny uncredited little thing in that. I'm guessing it was that, But yeah, I wanted to know because I've always wanted to interview her, but I just want to know what I'm in for in case I bring up, something that she didn't want to talk about,
And I will tell you, I'm the person who put Halloween on her IMDb page. I'm the one that she said I am the only person in the 40 years that movie has been out that at that time that I think it had been over 40 years, and she said nobody in her life had ever once placed her as that nurse.
Wow.
Because it's only in the TV version. You don't see it in the regular version. That TV version has only ever been available on that one Anchor Bay release.
There's a girl who sits behind Jamie Lee Curtis in class. I interviewed her for the 45th anniversary a couple of years ago. Her name's Darla Ray. She's now an indie filmmaker out in Colorado. And yeah, she was stunned that I wanted to talk to her just because she was in that scene, just for that one scene. And then next thing you know, other people are reaching out to her for it too, if they can't get a lot of the principal people who are tired of talking about it.
Yeah, I am stunned that how in the world did you find out that was even her name?
Well, of course it says it on IMDb, and I've always loved talking to bit part players more than the stars, because you get so many better stories out of them, and even if they don't have a ton to say, it's always a great conversation,
Huh. Well, I'm quite impressed.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
mean I've talked to so many people who played tiny bit parts in movies, and they're so much more fun to talk to a lot of the time. I mean there are stars that I have enjoyed talking to, of course, but yeah, for the most part, yeah, I love talking to the little guy.
Yeah, Jennifer Rose. I can't imagine that she wouldn't want to talk about having been in the TV. It's the TV version that she's in.
Okay.
So, and she's in the background, but it was her voice that caught my attention.
Hmm.
I know that voice. I know that voice because I still play that. My Anchor Bay DVD is the one that I play every Halloween, so I get the full experience. I can't believe nobody's ever put that out again.
Mm. Yeah, Jennifer Rhodes did a parody. It was a movie that was a parody of like Agatha Christie whodunit movies that I saw her in that I really liked. I'm blanking on the name right now and stuff. But that's good to know. I definitely will reach out to her in the future, knowing that. So I thank you once again for that, Jason.
Not a problem.
Now you've written, for publications. You've written a couple of books. Do you enjoy writing?
I do. I write. I find that I enjoy writing scripts more than stories.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I haven't written. I wrote a story called Basements that was published as a fiction. So that's why. But everything else, I'm much more interested in journalism, I guess, coming at it from that standpoint. So that's where They Made How Many and Assault of the Killer Bees and Femme Fatales and all that comes from.
Yeah. I mean, it could be tedious at times. I mean, I started writing scripts when I was 12, and, I work on them for so long, and then I get kind of bored, and then maybe later I'll go back to it if I get enough inspiration. But yeah, it's funny, your generation of horror filmmakers are not just filmmakers, but also novelists and, and historians who write books. Like, do you know Harrison Smith?
I do not.
Okay, he's a Philly-based horror filmmaker of low budget, and he writes at least one or two books a year now and stuff. He's a very funny guy. He did what's the movie that came out about 10 years ago? It had all these horror stars and it was overhyped. Death House, I think it was called.
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah.
it. I saw it one time. And yeah, he did that movie. But yeah, I mean, a lot of you guys are not just filmmakers, but you're also writing books too. I just find that very interesting. It's a nice little, creative tool to have. If you can't have something for one medium, you could have something for another medium.
Well, here's the thing, and this is one of the reasons that I wrote They Made How Many, is you can't, I go on Wikipedia and I find information like, that doesn't sound right. And I'm a guy who saves everything. So I have all of my Fangorias, all of my Cinefantastiques, all of my Femme Fatales, all of my mags going, Gore Zones and whatnot, going back to at least the mid-'80s, if not collecting things before then. But I'm like, I'm going to believe the hard copy print thing from the era more than I'm going to believe what I'm reading on Wikipedia right now. So I kind of feel like with the book, it's multi-sourced. It's from hard copy magazines. There is stuff on there from Wikipedia. If I couldn't find information anywhere else, I tried to multi-confirm it in more than one place. And I just felt like I need to write these books with research because I want something for this next generation to have, because where else are they getting their information from? And I'm going to keep plugging They Made How Many because it's been doing really well.
Yeah.
It stuns me, nobody else ever wrote this book.
Yeah.
Nobody ever thought to make a collection of every franchise in existence up through as long as the original movie came out by 1999. Then the whole franchise up to 2024 is included in this book. But even on Wikipedia, this resource does not exist in any form anywhere else. No, it's not on Wikipedia. Nobody has a website like this. It's just not there. And that was the reason I wrote the book, was just to be a resource, both for my own generation, because we don't know how many Children of the Corn there are anymore. I've lost how many Hellraisers there are. Because now I'm confused with this new game. I thought it was a new movie. No, it's a game. but everybody's treating it like a movie. So are there 11 Hellraisers? Are there 13 Hellraisers? Like, how many are there? So that's why I wrote the book, was for my generation to catch up and to introduce the younger generation to all of these great franchises that exist. And all they have to do is go to Tubi to find them, you know?
Yeah. And I lost count. I lost count of all those sequels. You know, I was like, God, there's so many of them. I don't know how many there are. You know, I'd have to go on the internet. Yeah, I used to know that there was, 7 of whatever movie, and then, find out over time that there's more. you know.
Well, and I got to tell you, I just wrapped, 2 weeks ago, we wrapped out Witchcraft 19 and 20.
Wow.
Back to back. So, and when people say there was more than a part 5, yes, there was more than a part 5. We are now going to be up to part 20, currently in post-production.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you wrote that book, Assault of the Killer Bees, Interviews with 20 Cult Film Actresses. Who are some of your favorite interviews for that book?
Julie Brown, hands down.
I just had Julie on the other day.
Yeah, so this is West Coast Julie Brown. This is red-haired Julie Brown, not downtown Julie Brown.
Oh, no. I love West Coast Julie Brown. It's one of my favorite interviews I've done, and I've done a lot of good ones, but she was just so awesome. I cried all weekend.
Yeah, so Julie Brown, and this is, by the way, this is Bloody Birthday, and Earth Girls Were Easy Julie Brown, for anybody who doesn't know. Elvira, who is, so Cassandra Peterson is Elvira, just slightly toned down. And Judith, Brink, of course. Brink, I think it was my very first interview ever of anybody that I ever did. And during that interview, I learned how to be an interviewer because I wasn't doing it right. I was trying to write the interview as she was talking, and she was like, "Why didn't you bring a tape recorder?" I was like, "Oh, is that what you do? Okay."
Yeah.
So, Brink was my very first interview of my career.
Wow.
So, of course, I have a soft space in my heart for that. I loved all of them, but those are the ones that really stick out. Felissa was great.
Michelle?
Michelle, I didn't, but Michelle's not in the book.
Oh, okay.
Michelle is in, wait, is Michelle in my,
I know she's in your documentary, right?
She's in the documentaries, but now I'm trying to think. She's not in They Made How Many?
Okay.
I have an interview with her in there. Damn. Now I got to go get one with her for the next edition. But Pamela Susan Shoup was a big one for me. I loved that interview. There were just so many. Ginger Lynn was, was so delightful. She was so nice. I was like, I want to be your friend. Like, she was that nice,
I had Ginger on years ago, and the story, I don't know if you ever heard the story of how she got cast in Young Guns 2. She blew the producer and got in.
Oh. Well, she was also probably dating Charlie Sheen at the time, and who is brothers to Emilio.
Oh, I brought that up to her, and she's like, oh, no, we weren't together yet at that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Hey, that's how Hollywood is, right?
Yeah.
David DeCoteau told me the casting couch is a real thing, and sometimes it's even worse for guys.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to go back and think through all of the interviews that I did for that book. I got to meet Karen Mistal from Return of the Killer Tomatoes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was cool because I got to meet all of these girls who I watched in movies, and they were still, to me, just like untouchable. But yet I was sitting here across from them in a restaurant in Los Angeles. And my time living in LA was very surreal to me because all of a sudden, all of these people I'd grown up seeing on screen were like literally physically an arm's length away from me.
Yeah.
Julie Strain, I don't know. What kind of radio do we have here?
Yeah. You could say anything.
Okay. So Julie Strain, known as the Queen of the B movies.
Yep.
And if you don't know who she is, you should be ashamed of yourself, whatever generation you're from, because she was in like over 200 movies.
She was a fucking hottie.
Right. She was the queen of Heavy Metal Magazine for like a decade. Penthouse Pet, and all around nice gal. She really supported me getting into the business. So she, a multitude of times, helped me get people, introduced me to people, let me interview her for Femme Fatale. She was in Something to Scream About. She asked me to come over to her house so she could do a photo shoot of me, because I was trying to climb up the ladder, and I needed like a portfolio and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we were doing the photo shoot, I should say,
mm-hmm.
for the 10th anniversary cover of Femme Fatale's magazine, and she had some downtime. They were filming Lisa Wilcox and Brink separately.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "Jason, I take pictures and post them on my website every day. I need to do some updates for today. Can you come and take some pictures of me over here on this bed?" Because we were in this artist studio, and he lived in the studio. So she's sitting on the bed, and she's in her brunt panties, and take pictures. She's by the window. She's on the bed. Okay, well, all of a sudden, out comes a boob. I was like, oh, click. Mm-hmm. And then she puts it away. Out comes another boob. I was like, okay. By the way, people who haven't figured it out yet, I'm gay. So out comes another boob. I'm like, okay, just be cool, take the picture. She drops trow.
Yeah.
Shows me everything.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was like, the millions of men in America that would kill for this very moment is completely wasted on me. And she put her clothes back on, and she went back to work. So that was Julie's personality. Like, she was just so carefree, and she did this website, and she kind of gave fans exactly what they were looking for. Before there was an OnlyFans, Julie Strain gave it what you were looking for, Yeah. So I owe a lot to her, like as with Brink, as with Dave, and as with J.R. Bookwalter. Just, she really went to bat for me on a lot of stuff. So, it's a shame that we lost her as early as we did.
Yeah, so I know a movie producer. She told me that Sally Kirkland was sort of the same way. She would, show her tits to people and say, touch them and all that stuff. Yeah.
So in Hollywood, I mean, there's very little inhibition in Hollywood. I gotta tell you, I saw more boobs. I saw nose jobs, like still covered by bandages at the local mall. Mm-hmm. And like a lot of them, every single day you would see a woman walking around with either a bandaged chest or a bandaged face. And they just had sunglasses on, so you maybe didn't know who they were.
Okay.
And that was it. Like it's so commonplace out there.
Yeah. I know, that's what I love. I love finding out that all my heroes are just as perverted as I am.
There you go.
I'm so freaking lucky. That's one of the perks of having a podcast. So, do you have anything upcoming you can mention? I know you mentioned those 2 movies you shot back to back, but those will probably be out not for a while, right?
Right. So Witchcraft 19 will be out early next year, and Witchcraft 20 will come out in January of 28 to align with the 40th anniversary of the original movie from 1988. So
nice.
So those are my 2 big things right now. I do have another big thing happening, but I'm not going to say what it is right now because I feel like I've already said it to too many people, and I don't want to jinx it because it is not a done deal. So,
I totally get it.
I will probably start work on a new book, or I should say an updated version of They Made How Many, the 3rd edition. I kind of figured I needed to take off for a couple of years because it took me 2.5 years to write the first one. Mm-hmm. And then the 2nd edition took me like another 6 months to update. So if anybody is interested, you can go to makeflix.com to find it. You can go to Amazon and find it, but look for the 2nd edition because it has 50 more titles in it, and it has 3 additional interviews with actors. So that we're up to like 33 interviews that are included in that book. So
perfect.
I am working at this moment in time as a full-time filmmaker. I was teaching for many years, and that is done. Mm-hmm. Not saying I'll never go back to it, but I'm kind of seizing the moment. There's a lot of opportunities that are kind of falling into my lap right now, and I would be really stupid to not acknowledge that that's what's happening.
Right.
So, I'm hopefully in the coming year I'm going to have a movie called Basements. But again, that is also, we're seeking funding right now. I would just tell people, go to makeflix.com. It's a little complicated. There's a little box up at the top left corner with lines. Mm-hmm. Click on that. You're going to look for B-Boy Productions. You're going to scroll down, and then B-Boy Productions should take you to my page, and almost every movie that I have available out there is on that page.
Okay, what's it called again?
So it's Makeflix. It's MakeFlix.com.
Makeflix.com.
Right? And then you go to the top left corner, you click on the little box of lines. That will bring you to a page where I think it says Other Producers or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You click on Producers, it will show up everybody, and then my page is B-Boy Productions. I should have them switch it to just my name. That would make more sense. But then it brings you to my books. It brings you to my, because I do have a children's book out there as well. I guess that is, in the forthcoming future, I do have a new children's book coming out called Robin's Egg. It is currently being edited and laid out, so that in 2027, I'm hoping that will be on the market.
You are a brave man, because you've done these horror movies, and you're so open about your sexuality, and yet you're also writing children's books. That takes a lot of guts, man. I give you nothing but kudos to that.
Well, and here's the book, and the children's book, and this is what I found. I wrote it for children with low self-esteem issues, but I have found that adults absolutely love it, and a lot of horror adults love it. Because it is about kind of being beaten down by the world in grade school and being made fun of, not fitting in, being the last one picked in gym class, being called on, and you feel like you're not the smartest kid in the room, but the teacher calls on you anyway. So it's called Heads Up, so you can see the world. It's got this beautiful watercolor sketch art by an artist named Kathy Wilson. Kathy Wilson. It is on Amazon, it is on Makeflix, and it is full color, and it's just this child's journey through all of the things that make them keep their eyes down, because as an adult, when I walk out in public, I still walk with my head facing down towards the ground. And it's not because I'm afraid of anything, but when I was a kid, I trained myself to not make eye contact. So I always looked down, and I didn't realize until about 2 years ago when I wrote the book that I still do it. And then I asked people, do you notice that I walk with my head down? And they said, yeah, you've always walked with your head facing down. So it aligns with the horror community, because I feel like there's a lot of people in the community who would agree that they are Carrie, minus the telekinesis. Right. Yeah. A lot of adults can understand the book, and so all of these adults are writing me saying, "Thank you for writing this book. It means so much. I bought it for my kids, but I love it even more." And then the last story I'll tell you about it real quick is I read it to a third grade class at a Montessori school on their last day of school, and the little boy, after we did a Q&A, and this little boy raised his hand, he asked me all sorts of questions. And after it was done and I was leaving, a teacher told me that it was the child was autistic, and it was the first time he'd spoken in 9 months.
Wow. That's profound. Profound.
So it's only $13, people. So go to Amazon and order Heads Up So You Can See the World by Jason Paul Collum.
Perfect. Jason, thank you once again for coming on today. And with all the stuff you got going on, I hope you enjoy the rest of summer and be safe out there.
You as well. Thanks. Have me back anytime you want. I love talking horror movies.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Jason Paul Collum. Ain't he a cool dude? Oh my God. I admire that guy greatly. He's such a great, humble guy, and that was fun nerding out on horror with him and talking about the awesome people in horror that he's worked with. Yeah, go to the website he brought up, www.makeflix.com, and you get all the information on his movies and his books. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.